I want to see the horses. I want to see the horses. Take me to the horses. Often says my little grandson Mendel Sapo, who's up sharing his first haircut at age 3 is going to be, God willing, this Monday. If you're near or at Chabad, join us. He wants to see the horses. He's fascinated with the horses in Central Park. This week's talk is not about horses, but it's about a donkey. A famous donkey. Almost an eternal donkey. What's with this donkey? In this week's Torah portion, it talks about how Moshe Rabbeinu transported his family on the way to receive the Torah on a donkey. And it says, Vayarkivem al hachamor. And he rode them on the donkey. Rashi, the famous biblical commentator, quotes a midrash, a Pirkei to Rabbi Eliezer, and actually changes a few words, and the Rebbe talks about this in a very in a lengthy talk. But we're going to focus on over here one part of that talk. So he says, Rashi says, this is the donkey, the same donkey that Avraham, our forefather Abraham, saddled on his way to the binding of Isaac. This is the same donkey that Moshiach will ride when he is revealed, on which Moshiach will ride. So Rashi says that this is the same donkey. The donkey, we have 3 instances of this famous donkey. Avraham in order, chronological order. Abraham saddled the donkey. Moses had his family ride on it. And third, Moshiach, at the end of time, Moshiach will be revealed on it. So what's with this donkey, and what's with the 3 instances that Rashi brings? Says the Rebbe in a beautiful talk in 1958, Tafshin Chai, on Yud Tes Kislev, says that what the Torah is really teaching us is that there are 3 levels of God's manifestation in this world that are represented by the 3 eras of Avraham, Moshe, and Moshiach. And they're also, that's on a cosmic historic level, and also on a personal level in our journey to serve God, as will be explained. Overall, says the Rebbe, the general purpose of mankind is to elevate ourselves and elevate the world. Our job is to bring God's light into this world, starting with the light of our neshama, to permeate our body and our surroundings. Says the Rebbe, what's the purpose of an animal, of a chamor, of a donkey, or any other animal? In biblical times and even today, the purpose of an animal is to bring us to places where we cannot reach otherwise. If it's either too far or too high or too difficult or too heavy, an animal was blessed, was gifted with greater strength than a human, naturally. So he's able to bring us to places where we cannot go ourselves. The Rebbe says this is also represented in our internal service to God. The word chamor, which we're talking about, the donkey in Hebrew is chamor, all has the same letters in Hebrew as chomer. Chomer means material, the physical material of the world. The Baal Shem Tov taught, there's a verse in the Torah we learned about previously. Kisirach chamor sonacha, rovetz tachas masao, azov ta'azovima, v'chadalta me'azov lo, azov ta'azovima. When you'll see, talking about social justice is when you'll see the donkey of your enemy burdening, suffering, struggling under its burden. You might not want to help it. Go ahead and help it. Azov tazov, double help. Not only are you helping it, but it's helping you, says the Baal Shem Tov. And he explains that when we see the Chamor, the materialism of the world, the mundanism of the world, and we think it's sonacha, it is our enemy, but really, azov ta'azov imo, it's really our friend, and we need to help it and employ the material of the world also to get us to a better place. So just like an animal physically helps bring us to places where we cannot reach ourselves, so too in our service to God, in our getting closer to God, the physical, the material of the world, the Homer of the world brings us to a place where we cannot, the neshama itself cannot reach. And how so? How can it do that? That's another talk we spoke about. Why is it that we need to eat? Some people eat animals and some people are vegetarian and they eat vegetables. Why is it that we need to get to the seemingly lower species? And that's because they come from a higher source spiritually than us. So they are able to elevate us. Says the Rebbe, these three instances of this historic donkey represent the three eras of our service and types of service, from Avraham to Moshe to Moshiach. Hands are freezing now, so I had to change the hand to the other side. And it goes as follows. The Rebbe says that in our service, in our journey towards this perfect world that God wants, it starts off with us first preventing the negative from influencing us and from obstructing our service with God. Then we go on to preparing the world and making it a vessel for godliness, and then the world itself shouts godliness. Avraham, the first Jew, lived before the times of the giving of the Torah. Avraham was not able to permeate the world with godliness, but he was able to stop the world from interfering with godliness. And therefore, regarding Avraham, it says, Vayachavosh es chamoro. Avraham saddled his donkey. What does saddling mean? He controlled it. He took control, he harnessed it. He took control of the donkey. And that's representative of not necessarily elevating the world, the materialism of the world, but not letting it interfere. When Avraham used the donkey in the story of the binding of Isaac, he actually didn't use it for a mitzvah. He didn't ride on the donkey. He didn't put his family on it. He used it as an accessory for a mitzvah. He put the wood, the fire, and the knife on the donkey. So the donkey, representing the materialism of the world, wasn't yet able to be refined enough to actually help for a mitzvah. It can only be an accessory, a secondary help for a mitzvah. Moving on to Moshe. The Jewish people went through the bitter exile and slavery in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, and thus, in an unfortunate way, but they were refined. They became elevated and refined, and thereby the world was refined. And because of that, the world became now, the Rebbe's words are a keli, a vessel for godliness, for holiness. It wasn't yet holy, but it was able to maintain, to sustain, to receive holiness. Therefore, when it comes to Moshe's interaction with the donkey, vayarkiveim al hachamor, he had his family ride the donkey. So the donkey, the materialism of the world, was used for a mitzvah, for something good. itself. And that represents our using the world, elevating the world, and using the world, using technology like we're using right now for a good thing. But the world itself is not yet perfected and is not yet holy. The same technology can be used for other things. The world can still be used for the negative until Moshiach comes. When Moshiach comes, it says, says the death will be swallowed forever, and the spirit of holiness, of impurity, will be removed. God will remove it from the world, and then the donkey will host godliness. It says Moshiach will ride and will be revealed on the donkey, and that represents that the Moshiach himself is the highest level of that a human can achieve, represented by the Yechida. Yechida is the highest level of our soul. That will be elevated, that will be lifted by the donkey. Going back to our first point from the Baal Shem Tov, that the materialism of the world will elevate us, Jewish people. That even the highest level of our souls will be elevated through the material of the world. It'll elevate us and also be elevated, that the material itself will shout out, I am nothing but godliness. So there won't be the duality that we have today, where the world can be used for holiness and for otherwise, but it will all be holy. There you have it. It's a bit of a deep thought today. I was trying to wrap my brain around it myself. Took a while, but I think that's the spirit of what the Rebbe was trying to say. And you could see more about it in a Sicha, in the talk from 1958. Tashin Yudches Kislev, and also in Chelek, Lekutei Sichos, expanded version, Chelek Lamed Aleph, page 15. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Chaim Oleski here, Chabad Family Programs of the West Side.